Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2024 Tour Championship DFS Tactics show. We are here to cover everything you need to find the optimal players and construct the optimal lineups for the Tour Championship. I'm quite excited. We have a lot to cover, so let's get into it. All statistics provided tonight and every night are from FantasyNational.com. It is the best golf analytic tool out there for your money. It's going to make you a much smarter golf gambler and a much better golf DFS player. Go check out FantasyNational.com. You will not regret it. In the description to the video, there are links to all of the social media. First off, my X and Instagram, where earlier this week I posted some research around the past winners of the Tour Championship and also a lot of information around the staggered scoring format. That came out Monday and Tuesday respectively. So if you want to see the weekly research that I do on the PGA Tour, give me a follow at your preferred social media site. X is also where I place my weekly betting cards. There isn't one this week. And my top player usage in the DFS contests I play. Definitely going to be playing some DFS. So if you want to see those pieces of information, then give me a follow over at X. That comes out every Wednesday evening after the DFS Tactics show, so that'll be out later this evening. And then finally for social media, Gabe's handle is in the description. He writes a great article called The Fringe. It's a wonderful way to start your week of preparation. And speaking of Wednesday nights, if you are a subscriber to his article, which is free to do, you're going to be able to join us in his Substack chat, as he is gracious enough to host a chat over there, hosts me, a few others as well. It's always very fun, interactive, entertaining, informative. You really are missing out if you are not subscribed to his article and able to join us in that Substack chat. So make sure you're doing that and go show him some support. Follow him over on social media. Lastly, we are live. Chat is open. Want to hear from you all in addition to the poll question, which I have typed up, which is pretty simple. Who is your favorite play this week? Who are you staying away from? Where do you think the winner starts this week? Is it Scotty? Is it Xander? Is it somebody who comes from further back? What kind of lineups are you building? So feel free to jump in chat. We are here to answer all of your questions this evening for the Tour Championship. So let's figure out our strategies and our tactics for the 2024 Tour Championship. And we are going to start, as we always do, on a Wednesday evening over at the extended forecast, or the super forecast over at Windfinder. And as you get a gauge of that, I'm going to talk about the poll question, which is really, really easy. It is the final event of the year. Now, understand that I only had 4 options available to me. So that's why I have the 3 players that I have, and then you'll see the 4th possible answer. But the poll question simply is, who wins? Who wins the Tour Championship? Is it Scotty? Is it Xander? Is it Hideki? Or is it someone else? So, would love to hear the community's thoughts on that. Feel free to answer that question, or please answer that question, and then feel free to jump in chat with your opinion, especially if you vote for other. I would love to hear your reasoning behind why you think somebody is going to make up a lot of those strokes that are being given to Scotty, Xander, etc. The forecast for East Lake has not changed much throughout this week. We do have very slight chances of rain during the evening, even though it doesn't show it here on the super forecast. But very, very little wind, or no precipitation this week leading into the Tour Championship. Supposedly maybe a shower this evening. Can't confirm that. But very, very little wind. There is no wave advantage anyway. There's only 30 players. And then if we take a look at the extended forecast, much the same on Saturday. The wind on Sunday might pick up towards the end of the day, but it's just a week to play your guys. There's no wind factor, no wave advantage. It's going to be hot. Highs in the high 90s, except for Friday, which will be in the mid 90s. But it's just a week to play your guys. No wind to consider. So with that, we will move to Fantasy National, and this is where I will be quite honest with you all as the viewers. I made my mixed condition model yesterday, fairly early yesterday, as I have a very, very busy week this week. So just had the time, or made the time to make the mixed condition model, knowing I was pretty busy this week. But talking to and listening to others in the industry, in the golf gambling community, pundits if you will, I am afraid I am quite low on the prospects of the around the green factor this week. We've talked about it all week that this is essentially a brand new course. A lot of the same layout. There is a par 4 that's been converted to a par 5. But the biggest changes are the fairways and the greens. The fairways were completely resodded. The greens were completely resodded. And when you have new greens, they are very, very, very firm. And with the fact that they've had no rain, no precipitation this week, they're going to be like bricks. So iron play is going to be paramount, sure, but so is being in the fairway. And if a player is in the rough, it is going to be nigh impossible to hold the green, according to experts who have been there, or who are there on the ground in Eastlake, or at Eastlake. So knowing that these greens are really, really hard, really difficult to hold, players are going to miss greens. It's as simple as that. I mean, these greens were average, tour average to begin with, maybe even slightly less. The fact that they are brand new makes this factor a lot less, because they are going to have significant bounce in them. And I am afraid that I have underweighted the around the green quite a bit this week. So with that, that's just full disclosure on my end. So with that, we are actually going to take a look at simply the around the green performance in the past 24 rounds or 3 months, who has just been very good around the green lately. That way you can give these players a more of a boost as we proceed through the evening, because I certainly am when I'm making my lineups. So your top around the green players in the field this week: Tony Finau, Rory, Seabass, Hideki, Adam Scott, Sam Burns, Colin Morikawa, Justin Thomas, Bobby Mack, and Sung Jae. Your bottom 10: Victor, Sepp Straka, Matthew Pavone, Shane Lowry, Chris Kirk, Keegan Bradley, Tom Hoagie, Taylor Pendrith, Russell Henley, Tommy Fleetwood, Ben On. Here's your bottom 10. So I wanted to lead the show off with that because, as I mentioned, I think I have underweighted the around the green. In fact, I don't have any around the green metric in my mixed condition model, although it's kind of simulated, and I'll explain it when we go to the mixed condition model. Otherwise, we'll do a quick review here. The only filter that I would like to cover for you all is the long course filter. I've used this, I've used this quite a bit in the mixed condition model since Eastlake has been lengthened. Going to a par 71 that is close to 7,500 yards. So pretty long course now here at Eastlake. So your top performers on long courses the past couple of years: Scotty, Xander, Rory, Sungjae, Batia, Wyndham Clark, Sahith Theegala, Ben On, Colin Morikawa, and Victor Hovland. Here's your top 10. Bottom 10 here: Pavone, Burns, Pendrith, Straka, Rye, Horschel, Seabass, Tom Hoagie, Adam Scott, Bobby Mack. All right, I have spent a little bit of time covering or talking about my mixed condition model and things that from the get-go I'm probably weak on. So let's go ahead and talk about the mixed condition model that I have made for the Tour Championship this week. We're going to start with 10% and off the tee. we took a look for, Monday night at how every single winner of the Tour Championship came to Eastlake gaining strokes off the tee and approach from the BMW Championship. Now, you see, I am going back to the last 24, but it's just to highlight the fact that the ball striking is very, very important around Eastlake. We looked at this Sunday night in the course breakdown here at Fantasy National. The off the tee for the winners actually surpass the approach in terms of strokes gained. So lots of emphasis here on off the tee play. You'll notice a little bit further down that I am more on the accuracy part of that, but I do think distance will help. You look at some of these past winners here. Rory, twice. Past winners in the staggered start format. Rory, twice. Victor last year certainly moves it off the tee. Let's see. A couple of others. DJ moves it. Patrick Cantley's probably the shortest hitter of the five of the five champions, but he's not short by any means in terms of distance off the tee. So I just wanted to take a look at total driving, as majority of the champions here at Eastlake have had very good form in off the tee. So 10% off the tee, 20% in approach. Especially with these brand new greens, players are going to have to be very, very, very conscious of their iron play, their spin control, everything when approaching the green this week. So 20% in approach. If anything, this is a little bit heavy. You can take some percentage out of this to make sure you are factoring in some around the green, which I, again, explained that I don't have, which I should. 10% in putting on Fast and Lightning Bermuda greens. I ended up just using Fast and Lightning Bermuda as opposed to specifically the TIFF Eagle, due to the fact that a couple of those courses had some slow and average speed greens. These are definitely the opposite of slow. These are some of the fastest greens on tour, rivaling Bay Hill, Memorial, maybe even the BMW from last week. So I just wanted to look at Fast and Lightning speed greens. And of course, we are on Bermuda. We did change from Mini Verde to TIFF Eagle, but Bermuda nonetheless. 10% Bermuda, Fast Bermuda specialists. 5% in fairways gained with the filter long course over 7,400 yards. I think being in the fairway is going to be pretty paramount this week. I didn't want to overrate this because you see how much I think good drives is going to matter. Good drives, being player hits the fairway or they are still able to hit the green from the rough. And we talked about this quite a bit throughout the week with this Bermuda rough, pure Bermuda rough, no overseed. We used this for TBC Southwind, for Sedgefield. That's what this multiple course filter is. The courses that have pure Bermuda rough, how well were the players able to stay in the fairway or play from the Bermuda rough if they didn't find the fairway? 15% in that metric and filter combination, the second most important thing in my mixed condition model this week. 10% in greens on long courses. And this is a little bit of a nod as well, using this filter, a little bit of a nod to the supposed proximity prevalence, I guess, from 200 plus. Considering the course has been lengthened, the 3 par 5s are attackable. Most players are trying to find the fairway, so they are not necessarily going as far as they could go, using driver and stuff, making sure they're in the fairway, leaving themselves a little bit longer approaches into these greens. And all of the par 3s are over 200 yards. So it's another kind of hidden aspect of this metric and filter combination implied in there. So 10% in greens gained on courses or on long courses. 5% scrambling. This is the kind of the around the green adjacent statistic that I used because there is water danger around East Lake, some of it off the tee as well. So I just wanted to see who some of the best scramblers were. In hindsight, this would be around the green, so just be aware of that. 5%, and honestly, that could be a little bit low because I think around the green is going to play a decent factor this week with the new sod in the fairway, the collars, greens, all of that. So definitely weak on the around the green. 5% birdies are better gained. I included this because I wanted to see the players who perhaps are starting at -3, 2, 1, or even. How low can they really go? What their tendency is on how low they can go, because they're going to have to score a lot to make up some ground. And of course, with no difficulty filter that I was comfortable with, because I don't think this is easy, but I also don't think it's difficult, I just used the long course filter. But 5% in birdies are better gained, mostly to try and find the hidden gems at the bottom of the price board / bottom of the leaderboard, the -2s, the -1s, the evens, who can just flat out go low. So that's what this is trying to encapsulate. 10% par 4s, 10% par 5s, no par 3s, no specific length. As we finish the mixed condition model, I just did not feel comfortable thinking par 3s are going to contribute a lot because they haven't in the staggered start format. And while the par 4s have been generally the most important around East Lake, at least for those who continuously play well year over year, they are adding a par 5. So there are 3 par 5s now around East Lake. So not terribly confident in the even split here of 10% on par 4s and 5s, but it's how I finished the mixed condition model because I did want to factor in both 4s and 5s. So there's a look at the mixed condition model for the week. Again, areas where I'm weak, or I could be weak. I do think I'm very weak in the fact that I don't have any around the green specifically and only 5% in scrambling. I think around the green is going to play a decent factor this week with the new greens. They're just not going to be able to be held easily. And that's kind of the angle I was taking with all the emphasis and the accuracy with the good drives, with the fairways, with the greens. But I still think the around the green is lacking in my mixed condition model. If putting doesn't matter as much or matters more, if there's a specific range of par 4, par 5, if the par 3s matter, I'll be weak. But that is the mixed condition model that I have made for the Tour Championship this week. So now let's go ahead to Microsoft Excel, the reveal of my rankings. And for the second straight week, I mentioned this last week, and I'll mention it again this week, I really don't like my rankings. But you just have to understand why the players are rising the way they are. So, for your information, if you are a new viewer, and as a reminder, if you are a returning viewer, my rankings are based on 3 criteria. The FNGC rank, which is a straight numerical ranking from Fantasy National, based on the mixed condition model we just went over, the metrics and percentages in those metrics, etc. Course value is an attempt at giving a player a numerical value on how well they have played that course the past 5 years. Conveniently, the staggered start format has been in existence for 5 years. So this is a player's average finish in the staggered start format. The lower the number, the better. So you see Xander, extremely well. Victor's played, extremely well. Justin Thomas has played extremely well in the staggered start format. So course value is also a portion of my rankings, and especially so this week. It was highlighted last week. It's just even more emphasized this week. We were playing DFS. We were trying to find unique options. So projected ownership, and these ownerships are per Fantasy National. Projected ownerships are also a factor in my rankings. And honestly, that's one of the main reasons why Colin Morikawa is technically number one in my rankings, because he is a projected 14% less than Scotty Scheffler. 14% less owned. So my rankings are Colin, who is starting at -4, Scotty at -10, Tony Finau, Aaron Rai, Tommy Fleetwood. Round out my top 5. Sungjae, Victor Hovland, Xander, Shane Lowry, and Sahith Theegala round out my top 10. Now, this starting column, or their starting strokes, has no factor into my rankings. I've just included this column for your information as the viewer. Now, certainly, you would want to be a little bit lower on Aaron Rai, considering he is way far back. Players like Xander at -8 probably shouldn't be this low, considering he is starting in second. This is just straight by a calculation of numbers, not including their starting strokes. As I alluded to, I really don't like my rankings. Like Colin Morikawa, I understand why he's so high. All the emphasis in the accuracy, the good drives, the greens. He's number one in fairways. I get it. He's also being helped by the fact that he is very, very unique, at least compared to a lot of others at the top of the price board. I have two very big concerns with Colin Morikawa, and they kind of go hand in hand. He's not played particularly well around East Lake. He's hit his irons very well around East Lake, but he is the worst putter on Fast and Lightning Bermuda in the field, and it's not close. He is not good. He's generally not a good putter anyway. He is woeful on Fast and Lightning Bermuda. He is not good on Bermuda. So I have lots of concerns with Colin Morikawa, despite the fact that he is technically number one in my rankings. Scotty, leader in the tournament. I mean, not much to say. Second most projected owned player behind Xander. For as much as his putter can get bulky, he's actually not horrendous on Fast and Lightning Bermuda. Not horrendous, not great, but not horrendous. But somebody made a pretty good astute observation in the sense that Scotty generally does his best when things are predictable. And you think about last week and how he lost 6.5 strokes on approach at the BMW with all the calculations of altitude, the uphill and the downhill. He's got a lot of unpredictability this week in terms of brand new fairways and brand new greens. So I'm not telling you to fade Scotty because of this, but it is something to keep in the back of your mind. He generally plays better when things are predictable. Think about Augusta, the Masters. That course is one of the most predictive courses on tour. Scotty plays well there. Think about the U.S. Open. Pinehurst, another Don Ross design. Not very good because there wasn't a lot of predictability. Once you got off the fairway, or a lot of those greens were just so treacherous, there wasn't a lot of predictability once you hit your iron into the green. So maybe a little bit of a pump the brakes on Scotty. Finau seems fine. I am a little bit worried off the tee. He's also not very good on Fast and Lightning Bermuda, but as we'll talk about, there's not a whole lot in his range, in his price range, that I'm gravitating towards. Rai, he's been on fire lately, but I also have some concerns with the fact that he's never been here to East Lake, especially in the staggered start format. And as I posted on social media, I explained to you all Monday night at the end of the Data Dive show, debutantes, at least from the staggered start format, generally don't fare very well. And he is starting all the way back at even, tied for 26th or whatever. He's got a lot of ground to make up. And the fact that Aaron Rai, he's generally a bogey avoider, not a birdie getter, cause for concern. Really some cause for concern. I mean, like Morikawa, elite with the irons, accurate, par fives he's taking advantage of, but he's got a whole lot of ground to make up. And he's getting a little bit of popularity. He's gaining some traction because he's been playing very well lately. But he's not a good putter on Bermuda, and you have to go low, especially if you're starting at, even, -1, and he's more of a bogey avoider. Tommy also doesn't go the lowest. About 25%, which is a lot. He's also not been great around Eastlake in his 2 tries. You see the second worst in birdies or better gained. 100 less than Finau, which is why I was, kind of talking about Finau a little bit more. Finau's also starting 2 shots ahead of Tommy. The thing about Tommy, though, he actually putts Bermuda okay. He's actually been better off the tee than Tony. So, good and bad, pros and cons with both. There's Tommy. 3rd. I think I was on Sungjae's line by mistake. 3rd, putting on Fast and Lightning Bermuda. 7th off the tee lately. A lot of that, again, with the accuracy, but still. Been good off the tee. Generally good around the green. Sungjae, I wanted to like him last week. He's so Jekyll and Hyde. The one thing you will say about Sungjae is the guy will get lots of birdies. He will get lots of bogeys, kind of like an Eric Cole in that sense. But the guy will go low. If you're looking for somebody to just rack up a lot of scores under par, you'll probably want to think about Sungjae. My issue with him, though, he's had one very, very good year. He shot, I think, 16 under 2 years ago. Other than that, he's been -1, -2. There's something about Eastlake, other than that 1 year, that he just doesn't seem to play very well. So his course history is not the strongest. Victor, defending champion, we can talk about his lack of around the green play. It's warranted. I'm going to say fade Victor at your own risk. It's not that I'm in love with Victor, because there's others around his price that I am literally going to play in a lot of my lineups. But I would not ignore Victor, because he can go low with the best of them. Xander, not much to talk about. I really don't like Lowry, and I'm completely off of Tagala, despite them being at the bottom of my top 10. All right, enough rambling. Let's sort on this price board, figure out where at least members of Fantasy National are going, and then who we might want to pivot off of the perceived chalk. So in the 5 digits, in the 10Ks, we only have 3 players this week. Scotty at 12,200, Xander at 11,000 even, Hideki at 10-1. All right, let's talk about Hideki real quick. Hideki is a gut feeling however you're going to approach Hideki. Me, I can't do it. Coming off the withdrawal from the BMW with the talk about the back injury, I'm just not going to take that risk. He could very well play exceptional this week and win. He's clearly talented enough. I'm just not going to take that risk. I just can't do it coming off of the withdrawal. It's also important to note that he has actually not played Eastlake all that well, averaging a 20th place finish when he has started -5, -6, -4. So he's not necessarily played all that well here around Eastlake. So really, for me, it only leaves 2 players in the 10K or the 5 digits. And I'm all in on Xander. I spent most of this week thinking I was going to play all of the Scotty. But having thought about it and hearing some others that are, on the course at Eastlake, thinking about the new surfaces and all that, and how Scotty generally plays better when it's predictable, it's just hard to ignore Xander's previous history here. And when I say that I am all in on Xander, and I mean I am all in on Xander like I was on Sung Jae at the Wyndham. Every single lineup that I have will have Xander in it. 100%. I am going extremely overweight on Xander. That gives you a lot of foreshadowing for, my answer to the poll question. I don't care if he's 50, 60%. I'm going to be overweight on him because I'm got him in 100% of my lineups. Love everything about Xander this week. And honestly, I will use one Scotty and Xander lineup, but Scotty's a fade. You got to plant your flag somewhere, and I'll plant my flag on Xander and fade Scotty. But I will have a lineup or two of Scotty and Xander, and I'll make some lineups at the end of the show that I think are pretty darn acceptable, putting the highest 2 priced players in it. Doesn't leave you a lot, obviously, but I think it's possible. But I'm all in on Xander. So in the 10Ks, all Xander, very little Scotty, no Hideki. Moving to the 9s, we have Ludwig Aubert at 99, Rory at 96, Cantley at 94, and Morikawa at 91. Despite him being the number 1, technically, player in my rankings, I am completely out on Colin for the reasons that I mentioned. He is atrocious on Bermuda. He is averaged losing 4 strokes a tournament at Eastlake. If he was losing 1 or 1.5, okay, generally just not a good putter, but he hasn't seemed to make a putt at all in his career at Eastlake. He's just not good on Bermuda. And he actually hasn't been all that accurate his past couple of tournaments. If you really dig into the numbers, he has not been totally in tune with the driver. So this fairways gain number being first, a little bit misleading because I'm going all the way back 36 rounds. He hasn't been great lately. He's also starting at -4. He is unique. I'll give him that. But that putter is just keeping me away. Otherwise, there's not, these 3 are fine. I'm not in love with any of them. Aubert at -5, the highest starting debutante. I do have a couple of concerns with Aubert as well. Like, with this, and again, it's a small sample size, with this Bermuda rough, the TPC Southwind, the Wyndham, these places with pure Bermuda rough. If he's not finding the fairway, it's been a struggle for him. One of the worst in good drives gained in that regard. Now, he did win the RSM, which are exact, at least per the GCSAA tournament fact sheets, the exact same green surface, Tiff Eagle Bermuda. Difference is the RSM generally isn't lightning fast. So I'm going to use a little bit of Ludwig Aubert, but he also has the debutante issue. And, in my research, I found that debutantes just don't play all that well. So he does have quite a bit of a head start on the majority of debutantes, being -5, whereas the average debutante starts at -1.7. So he's got quite a bit of an advantage there. But I have some concerns. I'll have Aubert a little bit, but I'm probably going to be underweight than this 25%. Rory's fine. He's played extremely well here. No doubt about that, but he's also very popular. And, and his irons haven't been very good lately, as you see here. Good drives gained. Second off the tee, that is Rory's game. But I hadn't found a lot of fairways either. So, Rory could be in a spot of bother this week. I want to like Cantlay, and he's played fairly well here, other than his first year here, where he had that disastrous +9. But he doesn't really excel at anything. And he's got a couple of bad statistics as well. He's much better on bent, in my opinion, than Bermuda. So really, in the 9Ks, like, I'll scatter a little bit of these three, but I'm not really in the 9Ks much at all. So, in the 9Ks, I think I would probably be most confident with Rory, but that's not a lot of confidence. I'd go Rory, then probably Ludwig, just because even though he's a debutant, he might really take to the course. We just don't know. And the guy's got a lot of game. Cantlay third, and Morikawa's a full fade. Like, you can't play everybody. You got to plant your flag some places. I'll take the chance on Morikawa based on his really, really bad putter. In the 8s, Keegan, Sam Burns, Victor, and Wyndham Clark. Let me tell you, if I'm not really in the 9s, I got to be somewhere. I'm really in the 8s. Keegan's fine. I'm not in love with Keegan, but he played well last year. Shot, I think, -6 or 7. Rose on the leaderboard because I think he came into the week, even or -1, so finishing 18th, pretty solid. The irons are much better than what's been showing in the last 24 rounds. Much like Cantlay, I think of Keegan on bent, but hard to ignore that he's kind of right smack dab in the middle in putting on Fast and Lightning Bermuda. He won't take himself out of a hole very often. Generally a good ball striker. He'll go low. So I don't hate Keegan, but I'm actually the lowest on him in this range. Despite his ranking being 30th of 30, I'm actually highest on Sam Burns. You want to talk about a player who will go low. Just the guy runs in putts like none other on Bermuda. You talk about Bermuda Billy, there's also Bermuda Burns. Sam Burns loves putting on Bermuda. He's hot right now. Takes advantage of the par 5s. Scrambles, which, I don't have any around the green in here, but also a very good around the green player. Guy's just comfortable on Bermuda. That and the fact that, he is playing very well lately. I really, really like Sam Burns. He is pretty popular, but I will eat this chalk. I talked about Victor Hovland. I don't mind it. He's played exceptionally well in the staggered start format. It's fine. You got to be a little worried with the around the green if I'm talking up Burns for the same reason I got to be talking down Hovland. I think it's fine. I do expect him to bounce back because I was pretty high on him last week and it didn't pan out. I think he's getting close to turning the corner. Whether that happens this week or not, we'll see. But I do like Victor a little bit this week. The only problem is he's starting really far back at -2, so that hurts him quite a bit. And don't sleep on Wyndham Clark at all. Don't sleep on him. The number 1 putter on Fast and Lightning Bermuda. Better than Sam Burns. Better than Billy Horschel, who's Bermuda Billy. Don't sleep on Wyndham Clark. And he's not really all that highly owned. 22.5 looks gaudy, but it's really not all that bad. So really pay attention to Wyndham Clark. I really, really like Clark, but I'm really kind of all over these 3 players. A little bit less on Hovland, but and I'll even sprinkle some Keegan as well. So I really, really like the 8s this week. Moving into the 7s. Scott, Finau, Tommy, Sungjae, Russell Henley, Shane Lowry, Ben On, Billy Ho and Sahith Theegala. No thanks on Sahith Theegala. The guy's injured. I don't know how widely known that is, but it is pretty darn clear he is dealing with some issues. So he's just not healthy. Fantasy National staying away from him. I'm staying away from him. He didn't play Eastlake well the first time he came here. He's dealing with some injuries. If Sahith Theegala plays well, I'll throw my hands up. It's just going to be a bad week. Don't want any part of it. Right above him, though, give me all the Billy Horschel I can handle. The guy has played pretty darn well here. I know this course value doesn't look great. He had one very bad performance his first time here in the staggered start format, but then came back, shot like 10 under and then 7 under. Pretty solid. Very good putter on Bermuda, obviously. Also takes advantage of par 5s, which I think you're going to have to do since there's another one this week. So, like Billy. At the upper part of the 7s, like I said, Finau rated out okay, but he is really bad on Bermuda, so be a little bit cautious. Adam Scott's actually not getting a lot of interest. I guess a lot of people think that last week was a little bit fluky, but he's been on a pretty good roll lately. Very good putter. Generally good around the green. Don't sleep on Adam Scott. I'm not saying to go crazy with it, but starting at -3, you know, he could make some noise this week, I think. Especially as unique as he is. Fleetwood, Finau, Sungjae, all these guys have things going for them and things working against them. Finau with the putter. Tommy just hadn't generally been great here. Sungjae can go really, really low, but he's so Jekyll and Hyde. Which Sungjae are you going to get? Henley's probably the most known commodity, but he's probably the most vanilla in the 7s due to the fact that he probably doesn't have a very high ceiling, but I don't think he has a very low floor either. I think he's just generally pretty safe to finish in his 17th-ish range this week. He's surprisingly very good on Bermuda. Good drives gained. I mean, a lot about the accuracy. You will definitely have to be better at the par 5s. No thanks on Lowry. Again, you're going to have to go low. And he's generally a bogey avoider, not a birdie getter, generally speaking. So, no thanks on Shane Lowry. He's also has not been great around the green lately. I know this is saying scrambling, but he hasn't been great around the green. You see the putter. Ben on, I just don't have a good feel for, so I'm not going to play him. Very unique if you want to, but I'm just not going to play him. And then in the 6Ks, 3 or so players that I want to suggest to you all. First is Justin Thomas. Look, I talk about it all the time when we're on Zoysia fairways. These are Zoysia. He's played exceptionally well here. He's not even the most projected on 6K. I really like Justin Thomas this week. Guy just knows how to play these Midwest and South courses. Zoysia fairways, Bermuda greens. I'm pretty high on Justin Thomas. I do want to mention Sepp Straka. I know the course value isn't great, but he has started both of his years, I think, either at even or -1 and even. I mean, he has been at the very bottom of the leaderboard, and the fact that he has moved all the way up to generally in the top 17 or 18 is a testament to how well he has played around Eastlake. The putter on Fast and Lightning Bermuda is much better than what is showing. He putts Bermuda pretty darn well. Finds a lot of fairways. I actually like Sepp Straka quite a bit this week. I'm pretty close to these two in terms of even or how much I like these two. I like them quite a bit. But the mad scientist play for the week is Tom Hoge. I know you might think it was Aaron Rai. He's getting a lot of attention. So the mad scientist play is Tom Hoge. He finished 10th here in his 1 year. He played in the staggered start format. I'm going to tell you now, he didn't start at -4. He was -2 or -1. He shot 10 under that week. Everyone knows about his iron game. Very strong. Despite him not being a very good putter, he actually putts Fast and Lightning Bermuda very, very well. He gained something like 4 strokes on the greens his first trip here to East Lake. There is something about Fast and Lightning Bermuda greens that he just likes, or is at least confident on. So the mad scientist play this week is Tom Hoge. I like Tom Hoge quite a bit. All right, so with that, let's move to making some lineups. We're going to start with tiers contests and then move to our classic and GPP lineups. So tiers contests, tier 1 you have Scotty, Xander, and Hideki. Yeah, just give me Xander. I'm just most confident in Xander this week. Pretty easy, tier 1. Tier 2, Ludwig Aubert, Rory, Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, and Keegan Bradley. My initial thought was to go with Rory, but depending on how much of a home run you want to take, Keegan isn't all that crazy. Again, I'm just completely out of Morikawa. I think the logical choice is Rory, but if you're willing to stomach a lot of risk, I think Keegan's probably going to be worth it this week, especially starting at -6. He's also the most unique in terms of classic lineups, so I don't know if he will be in tiers. But give me Keegan in tier 2. I think I've talked myself into Keegan tier 2. Tier 3, Sam Burns, Victor, Wyndham Clark, Adam Scott, Tony Finau. I love Wyndham Clark. I like Burns just a little bit more. Even though he is technically last in my rankings, I just think this sets up very, very, very well for Sam Burns. So give me Sam Burns in tier 3. Tier 4, Tommy, Sungjae, Russell Henley, Shane Lowry, Ben On. Kind of don't like a whole lot in here. I guess give me Sungjae in tier 4 for the spike ability, for the ability to go really, really low. Hope that you hit. I don't love it, but I think Russell Henley's pretty vanilla and kind of the same with Tommy. So give me Sungjae in tier 4. Tier 5, Billy, Sahith Theegala, Batia, Justin Thomas, and Sepp Straka. I want to take Billy, but you see the ownership compared to these two. I think it might be Justin Thomas in tier 5. It's between these three, Billy, JT, and Sepp. I don't hate any of them. I think I'm going to lean Justin Thomas there. And then finally, tier 6, Bobby Mack, Taylor Pendrith, Aaron Rai, Seabass, Chris Kirk, Hoge, and Pavone. I'll go with the mad scientist playing Hoge. So this tier's construction goes Xander in tier 1, Keegan in tier 2 for uniqueness, or at least we're hoping for the uniqueness there. Tier 3, Sam Burns. Tier 4, Sungjae. Tier 5, Justin Thomas. Tier 6, Tom Hoge. All right, let's start making some classic lineups, shall we? Our fellow contestants are definitely using one of Xander or Scotty. It's very doubtful they are using both. So I will use the most common player, which is Xander, who I'm using. You'll also notice that I've added a column here. This is their starting score. Generally speaking, we're going to try to get the highest cumulative score here as well. So not only do we have pricing, ownership, but now score to look at. So 3 factors this week. But we're going to start, or this chalky lineup is going to start with Xander. And it looks like because of his price, most of, at least Fantasy National, seems to be comfortable with going to Rory because Aaron Rai is getting quite a bit of attention down here in the 6Ks. Aaron Rai, Billy Horschel, who I really like. And this leaves them about 8,000 per player. You know, Sam Burns, Victor. I guess technically this would be Victor, which leaves them 76 which is Tommy. So this is probably a pretty common lineup, would be my guess. 167 or 168%. That's, you know, quite ballooned because we have only 30 players. But you see the starting score of minus 16. It's not great. It's not great. I'm going to try to build you some lineups that are starting at minus 20 or so. But this is going to be a very, very common lineup this week. Common shell and just a common duplicated lineup. And I like, you know, I mean, Xander's going to be 100% of my lineups. I like Billy Horschel. We're going to have to get off of some of these players. We're going to find some uniqueness. And a lot of that's going to have to come in the way you construct your lineups, not just the players you use. If our fellow contestants are going Scotty, more than likely they're not able to use a 9K. They are going Aaron Rye. We'll go Taylor Pendrith, who's the second most projected owned player per Fantasy National in the 6Ks. So Scotty and Taylor is the boundaries. They'd have to go to an 8K. Yeah, we'll throw Sam Burns into this. Again, this could be Victor, could be Wyndham Clark, but maybe Sam Burns, Tony Finau getting some attention, Russell Henley. I don't know, maybe Russell Henley's here. And then this is Tommy. Yeah. So instead of going Xander, Rory, they're just going Scotty Burns. That it's just the straight opportunity cost or difference in pricing between Xander and Scotty. Xander allows you a 9K. Scotty doesn't really, unless you're willing to double dip in the sixes. But you see, this lineup is actually starting at minus 21, thanks to Scotty. How are we going to combat the chalk that's going around with this standard stars and scrubs build of a 10, 9, 8, double 7, 6? Well, one way you can go about it of combating it is to go balanced. I really hate that style of build this week, but if you're willing to do it, I would think Ludwig or Rory would be the way you'd want to start. And you don't really have to come into the low sevens even. You can maybe bottom this out at Sungjae or maybe Russell Henley. Ludwig or Rory. I would definitely want to go with Keegan in this. Pick one of Burns, Hovland, or Clark. I'll go with Burns just because I'm just so high on him. But you see, I mean, we have two players at 7,700. You know, I don't know if I would go Adam Scott, but you would think about it. You need to think about it for some uniqueness. But you see, even with these two players, even with these four players, two people left, you know, still to fill, we're already at minus 18. So if we were to go, say, Tony Finau, no, let's go, Tony. And again, I'm not necessarily in love with Tommy. Maybe you leave some money on the table and do this. Minus 23 is a balanced lineup, which is fine. You see this cumulative ownership, 132% versus the 168 or whatever it was from the other previous lineups, the chalky lineups. You're gaining a lot of uniqueness, a lot of leverage on your fellow contestants if you're willing to avoid the Xander or Scotty start. I can't recommend it, but it's possible. I also promised you I could build a Scotty and Xander lineup. It is possible, and I don't hate the lineup. It uses the Mad Scientist play, of course. You're also going to have to double or probably even triple dip into the 6Ks. I'm going to throw Justin Thomas into this. Maybe you are extremely high on Aaron Rye. I would try to avoid that. but I really like Billy Horschel. Now, yes, you're taking a big risk down here at the bottom, but you still are starting at minus 20 thanks to the two horses up top. Justin Thomas has played well here. Sepp Straka's played well here. Billy's played well here. Tom Hoagie's an elite iron player, so I don't hate this lineup. You know, I'll probably submit this exact same lineup in a multi-entry contest, but it's not the lineup style or lineup shell that I prefer. What I've been doing most often, I've been starting Xander, and I am, again, loading up the 8s. Sam, I don't mind Victor. I'll definitely use Wyndham. These 3 players alone, I'm already at 16 under. And I don't have to flirt with the 6Ks if I don't want to. I will. I don't mind going into the 6Ks. I'll do a Justin Thomas. I'll do a Sepp Straka. Don't know if I'll do Tom Hoagie. He's kind of reserved for Scotty. But even if I did Tom Hoagie, I don't hate it. Tom Hoagie definitely gives us a lot of uniqueness. Like, if I did Tom Hoagie, I would throw Victor into this or try to squeeze a 9K in. But otherwise, like, Adam Scott. I like Adam Scott. You can use Billy. And that leaves you 74, which is Henley, which is fine. I'm not on Lowry. You can leave some money on the table. Go Sepp. Go JT. Let's go Justin Thomas. A little bit more popular because Justin Thomas is, pretty widely owned, or like the 3rd most projected owned player in the 6Ks. Billy's getting a lot of attention in the low 7s for good reason. But again, I'm giving you these lineups that are starting at minus 20 as opposed to the Tommy Fleetwoods, the Victors, the Russell Henleys, the Sung Jays, that are going to be minus 16, minus 15. Hey, Brobarian, thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. Hopefully you've had a good little bit. It's been a while since I've seen you in chat. Hopefully you're ready for the Tour Championship. I've had some success. I had quite a bit of success right before the Tour Championship. And then the playoffs have been an utter disaster. So we're going to try to end the PGA Tour season, I can't say in the year, but in the PGA Tour season off on a strong note. Thanks for jumping in chat. It's good to see you this evening. But this is the kind of lineups that I've been kind of been toying with the most. Because I won a lot of Sam Burns, I won a lot of Wyndham Clark, and I've told you a couple times already I'm 100% Xander this week. So, kind of filling it out. The rest, maybe this becomes Sepp Straka. I'll go Adam Scott, Billy Horschel, Sepp Straka, and then the next one I'll go like Finau, Henley, Thomas, and things of that nature. But I've been trying to squeeze these 3 into as many lineups as I can this week. Yeah. Xander at 11, I think he's just a solid deal, despite the fact that he rated a little bit lower than Scotty. This dude just loves Eastlake. So, a couple of things to answer. First, before I forget, from last week, I don't think I ever gave you my one and done selection, which the one and done season ended last week. So the Tour Championship isn't part of one and done. I finished, I think, 16th in my division, so I am promoted. To use soccer terminology, I was promoted to the next division for next year. So it was a pretty solid foray into one and done. It's the first time I'd ever done one and done. I really enjoyed it. And last week I used Victor Hovland. So I just wanted to clear the air on that. For me, who wins the Tour Championship? Pretty obvious. I've been all about Xander this evening, so Xander is my pick to win the Tour Championship. I mentioned no one and done for this week. Appreciate it, Brobarian. I'll definitely have, later on in the winter, in the month of December, in the doldrums of the golf season, I definitely plan to have one show or two during the month that is a recap of my year. I generally do that. So no one and done. I've given you my winner. Quick reminder that I will be over in Gabe's Substack chat right after the show this evening. If you are not subscribed to his article, I highly suggest you do that. His social media handle is in the description of the video. You follow that link, it'll take you to his social media page, and his article is pinned. It's his pinned comment or post or whatever. So if you aren't subscribed to his article, you really are missing out. I highly suggest you do that. And be on the lookout for my top player usage later on this evening over on social media. I'll be posting that. I do not have a betting card this week. Just kind of focused on the DFS and all that. Hey, thanks, Gabe. Much appreciated. Yeah, it's been a wild week, and I'm getting ready to go out of town. Yeah, Probarian. So Gabe is the one that I've been talking about. His social media handle is in the description of the video. So make sure you go check out his article. Subscribe to it. It is free to subscribe to. But yeah, thanks, Gabe. I'm getting ready to go to Alabama for a national baseball tournament that I'm playing in. Not coaching. I'm actually still playing a little bit of baseball. So getting ready to do all that. So I'll be over in Gabe's Substack chat momentarily as I shut down the stream here. So I'll be over there in a moment, Gabe. But thanks to Gabe and Brobarian for jumping in chat. Thanks to everyone else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel by liking the videos, commenting and subscribing. I always appreciate it. Love what I do. Taking an in-depth look at golf statistics, giving you a statistician and data analyst's view of what he sees, trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process. We're going to try to turn our fortunes around in the final week of the PGA Tour season, the Tour Championship. So good luck with everything for all of the wagers you've made this week for the Tour Championship, for all the DFS contests you played this week for the Tour Championship, for this weekend and every weekend. May all your bets be profitable.